This is a NOB software demo for entering in contract information. At the item prompt, it's basically just a unique record ID, so you can just hit the enter key in a null field and it'll give you the next available record ID number. If there's a fixed asset that belongs to this contract, you might want to enter it in here. If not, just leave it blank. If there's a piece of equipment that applies to this contract, you might want to enter it in here, otherwise leave it blank. But we do have one. It's actually this equipment number for Penske, and it found Penske. So we're good. Now the description is free format. Put anything you want in here. So I'm going to use it for reminding me basically that it's Penske, and it's sourcing from Albuquerque. Now it comes down to contract information. It wants to know a little bit of information for this contract. What's the start date? March 1st, 2014. What's the end date? February 1st, 2020. And the start accounting period, which relates to the start date, 2014-3. And the end period, which relates to the end date, 2020-02. And the group code, which is basically for reconciling balance sheet accounts. If you unique this group code, then everything will sum into that balance sheet account over the accounting periods, and it'll be very nice and easy and pretty much automatic. Now I'm just going to hit the enter key and let the system pick one, which is basically CON underscore for contract, and then if there's an equipment item, it'll use that. Notice PENS and then the equipment number. If no equipment number, it'll use the fixed asset number. If there's no equipment number, no fixed asset number, it'll use the record ID number. It's not hard, it just uniques it, that's all. Makes life easier. Okay, the contract number comes from Penske, so this contract number is 13-01. The type is a lease, and the terms are monthly, and we cannot dollar round this lease. We actually have to apply it. The rate amount is $16.7667, and the rate per mile is 7.5 cents. There is no tax for the contract amount, and there is no tax for mileage. And we're done there, so we hit the escape key. Moving along, we want to enter in the contract amount GL information. So I am going to throw all these contracts into accrued other, because basically what this is going to do is set up a recurring journal to accrue that $1,676.67 every month. Then when the actual invoice comes in to pay it, eventually, if it's in March, the accrual amount, you expense it to the accrual account, and plus and minus, they all equal zero. If it doesn't come in and it's a month late, we actually have the accrued account amount in the proper accounting period, and everything will be expensed properly in where it belongs. Remember, this is accrual accounting, so if you owe it, it belongs in that month. Okay, now the GL account for accrued other, I can't remember, so I'm going to put the words of the name in there. And it brings it up. Two of the items have accrued and other, and it's 2130. That's the one I want. And we're in the debit column, so if we want to put credits, we have to use negatives. Now, it's a percentage, not a dollar amount. What percentage of this gets applied to this liability account? 100%. But we want it to be a credit amount. Okay? Now, in this account field, we want to actually expense it. So we're going to expense it into the expense account lease tractor without driver. There's two accounting codes here, two expenses. One is for the actual lease cost, and the other is for the actual lease mileage costs. This customer likes to separate the two, so we're going to separate them. Remember this account code for the next area, contract miles. Okay, but we're going to use this one for contract amounts. I'm going to apply it to Albuquerque terminal because Albuquerque's domicile terminal. And what that does is the system basically calculates the cost for each terminal based on how many miles the terminal drove, and then the ratio of miles. So if there's no miles driven, then Albuquerque gets 100% of the cost. By default, that's what this does. Now the contract miles, we're going to use the same accrued account, 2130. And if we remember that GL accounting code I mentioned before, you can put it in. Otherwise, we have to put in the words of the name again. And 05, driver miles. Just hit enter here, and it'll auto balance the debits and credits. Hit the escape key here when we're done, and we're good. Now we got to put in all the accounting periods, which is what, about 72 or so, or we can use the auto calculation option. All contract periods, and all 72 items are in. It's a $120,720.24 contract. All the accounting periods. We can make all the changes we want here if we wish, or we can just leave it as is. The miles will fill in automatically later on when the miles accumulate, assuming that we are in March of 2014. Of course, we have no miles for April of 2014. So when we're done, we make all the changes we want. When we're all done making all the changes, we hit the enter key. It says write record. Do you want to process? Yes. Hit enter. And that's it.